Hi everybody, it's April 20th, 2021. We're doing this 2 days early, so next week it'll be on Thursday again, but my sweet wife, she's turning, well, I'm not going to tell her how old she's turning, but she's having a birthday party, and so she didn't want me doing it on her birthday, April 22nd. She is a true Earth person because she was born on Earth Day. So she loves all of the stuff to do with the earth. But here we are, our 8th week of this mentoring. If you've missed any of them, you can go back and click on the very bottom where the Zoom, I put the Zoom link thing, and on the very bottom of that, each week I put the link that goes to the previous videos. So welcome today, and we're going to be talking about more. You know, as I've been doing this and the Ascended Masters have been telling me this information, I've been learning just along with you. And so we're going to go ahead and get started here. Let's see. My clicker's working. This is good. Look at that. So, righteousness is the rightful use of energy, and Christ consciousness is the way of righteousness. Now, I know I'm reviewing stuff each time, but it's important you know this, that we're talking the same teachings the Essenes were teaching when they were on the earth, and Christ came through the Essenes. And freedom and empowerment is the gift for all. Now, right now, we're being disempowered and enslaved. And so we need these teachings right now more than ever before in the history of the planet. Because their plan is to enslave all of humanity on this planet. So we need methods we can build freedom and empowerment, because this is the gift for all from the Almighty I Am that I Am. Loving thoughts and unconditional selfless service is the mystical which gives power to the whole, or all of us on the planet. Using Christ consciousness or love in all things leads us to our ascension. Now, today, we're going to be talking about transforming and healing my vision of the world. You know, right now there's a lot of people who think this planet is the most scary, awful place to be, and they're checking out. There's been as many people commit suicide as have died of the COVID virus, believe it or not. And that's awful, because when you think about it, you know, when people lose their hope, they lose their lust for life, they start doing dumb things. And so the sixth center, or vision center, works on mid-range visibility light energy, visible light. So there's a certain amount of visible light spectrum, then there's the ultraviolet light, and then there's infrared light. And the ultraviolet is a higher frequency. The infrared is lower frequency. Human eyes can only see a certain amount of the spectrum. But as we train our minds and our eyes, we can start seeing higher vibrations and the lower vibrations. Animals, there are some animals that can see even the greater spectrum of light. And so the occipital lobe of the brain is the visual center, and it's a pretty big part of the brain. So our vision actually uses a lot of energy. And that's why when you meditate, you close your eyes so that you're focusing your energy more on the inner than the outer world. Now, our visual center is piezoelectric, with small cones made to see different vibrations of colors. And when colors are in between, it actually can stimulate 1, 2, or all 3 of the cones. and then the rods, which basically see light and darkness. Now, light vibration stimulates the retina, which in turn stimulates the cones and rods and then the optic nerve, and then the brain to perceive our sight. Sight can also be perceived in the pineal gland. Now, there are two types of photoreceptors in the human retina, the rods and cones. Rods are responsible for vision at low light levels, scotopic vision. Cones are active at higher light levels, photopic vision, and are capable of color vision and are responsible for high spatial acuity. So our vision not only can see depth, but it also can see 3D. Now here's a nice little look at the different parts of the eye. You know, you have your pupil, which is the dark part of the eye, the cornea, which is the covering to the eye. You have the lens, the iris, that changes the aperture of our eye. You know, our eye is amazing. You know there's a God when you see an eye, because eyes are absolutely amazing. And then you have the sclera, the choroid, the retina. Now the retina is the actual part of the eye that sees the different colors, the different visions, and the macula is the most dense in the rods and the cones. And this actually depicts the rods and the cones, and there's more cones in the macula. And so that makes you better able to see colored light. Now there's a lot of other different nerve cells, and the light passes through and inverts going into the eye, and it's actually upside down against the retina. So you're actually seeing an upright world, but it goes upside down when it hits the retina and the macula, but it crisscrosses in our brain and actually puts it back upright. So pretty amazing stuff. Now, there's eye muscles, there's the lens, the pupil, the iris. This shows how you're looking at a leaf and it comes up upside down in the fovea, in the area of the retina and macula. And these transmit to the optic nerve, and the optic nerve actually crosses right above the pituitary gland in the what they call the optic chiasm. Now, this is a picture showing the retina, and there's a lot of information on here. As you can see, the blood vessel comes to the surface. The light actually passes through all of this, through here, and goes to the rods and the cones that are down in here, which is quite amazing. And they feed the nerves, believe it or not, their lessons up through here, and they have amacrine cells that come between the nerves and actually help with the colors coming together as they come into the optic nerves, fibers that feed the optic nerve. Very fabulous stuff. I tell you that as you study the eye, I almost became an ophthalmologist because I was fascinated with the eye. But I saw more when I was a gynecologist delivering babies. I could see the heavens open up every time a baby had come in. And so my vision actually went with obstetrics and gynecology. Now, piezoelectricity is an electrical charge that accumulates in certain solid materials, and we've talked about this, such as crystals, certain ceramics, ear ossicles like we talked about last week, the bones, and biological matter such as the skull, DNA, and various proteins. Now, when you look at the way piezoelectricity works, it's a mechanical stress or some kind of energy puts stress on these particles within these cells that use the piezoelectricity. And it's used in the production of ultrasonic sound waves, and we talked a little bit about that. The energy is direct current in millivolts. Now, the lateral geniculate nucleus is in the thalamus that receives visual information. Now remember, the medial geniculate nucleus passes through the sound, and the lateral passes through the vision. And it exhibits a layered structure which is piezoelectric. So you're turning on energy, and the sound and light are going right past each other, and they affect each other. And deep breathing feeds oxygen and prana to the body, especially to the brain, and the brain burns up the most oxygen in the body. So we need to make sure we're taking deeper breaths and breathing in the energy and the oxygen. It also uses the pranic energy to connect us back to source, and the prana helps us connect not only smells, but sounds, light, and taste. And we also have the energy of the feeling of our skin throughout our body that feeds into areas very close to these other areas that are more mystical and can create, when we hear truth, we get that chicken skin, or our hair follicles, the little muscles down in the follicles cause our hairs to stand up. And that's one way I tell people you can tell truth, is when somebody's saying things and your hairs stand up. That's an indication you know you're hearing the truth. Quite an interesting thing. So the medial geniculate body is the major auditory nucleus of the thalamus. Parts of the medial geniculate are hypothesized to function in directing auditory attention to the visual stimulus. So if you see something, it makes your ears perk up, which is pretty cool. And so the lateral geniculate nucleus is the vision, and it is connected to the medial geniculate body for sound. So here we have the gustatory or taste center right here. The visual cortex is back here, but vision also has some parts over in here in the temporal lobe. The olfactory cortex is right here, so they're all kind of related to each other. This is the feeling sensations. This is taste, this is smell, and this is hearing. And the visual cortex has areas that feed into all of these. Now, as you look at the LGN is the lateral geniculate nucleus, and the medial is more close to the center of the brain, so that's why it's called medial. The lateral is here, and you see the light enters the eye, it hits the macula, transmits energy into the optic nerve cells. They follow here, and they travel through the lateral geniculate nucleus, and then they split and come down into all of the different visual areas. Now there's motion, there's form, it relays different signals and catalogs the input, and the relays signal and color and form, they all intermingle in this entire area, and they connect to everything else, all our other all the five senses, which is very cool. Now, as you can see, this is the primary sensory area. Comes clear down here into the secondary motor and sensory area, and this comes and intermingles with the primary auditory area, the secondary auditory area, and then this is the speech area. The Wernicke's area in the back helps you understand what you're hearing. And here, the speech area causes the aphasia, or the actual speaking. And aphasia, as we talked about, is people who are unable to speak, or they've been struck dumb for some reason. And sometimes it's a stroke, sometimes it's God telling them, don't talk right now. But the visual area, look how huge this is. And it connects to all of these. Now this is a great depiction of how the right eye and the left eye are interconnected, and the left side of the right eye goes over to the left side, and the left side of the left eye goes to the left, the right side of the right eye goes to the right, and the right side of the right eye goes to the right. And that way it's all inverted when it comes in right here, and then it gets back upright when it comes back to the brain and the visual cortex. So you actually see things right side up. Now, human vision is very mystical, and esoteric spiritual traditions suggest it serves as a metaphysical connection between the physical and the spiritual worlds, through light vibration and energy, and also through sound vibration and energy. Seeing can lift the soul. Seeking spiritual visual plasma can heal the body. So you get this when you're in meditation. You actually start seeing plasma, and the plasma appears as light that just kind of turns side to side. And it can be green, it can be purple, it can be blue, it can be yellow, all the different various colors. And as this happens, you can ask God to tell you what the plasma is, because plasma is not only energy, but it has messages in it. And as you ask it to turn into the messages, it'll either turn into pictures or videos or movies or something that will give you information. It can even turn into words, which is fascinating. I've seen all of that happen as I've been meditating. Now, seeing can lift your soul. Why? Because when you see visions, you know you've entangled with the divine. Seeking spiritual visual plasma can heal the body, because as you're visualizing these messages, they actually transmit different frequencies to the body and can heal your body. Have you ever wondered why meditators live longer than everybody else? It's because they are receiving these visual plasma and it's healing their bodies. They've shown through studies that meditators live 20, some of them 30 years longer than the rest of us. So why not take time to meditate and have your life be filled with visions, dreams, more plasma that helps heal your body? Visualization resonates and corrects dis-ease. So visual activation brings a more significant connection to the natural world. Have you ever wondered why when you go out into nature, you just feel better, you feel more rested, you feel like you could run further, hike further? As I've gone out into nature my entire life, I was really lucky because every weekend my parents would take us kids out into nature and we would experience nature, and it was so invigorating. By the end of the weekend, we were ready to go back to work, go back to school, whatever. And we just felt invigorated and full of the love of God. And the reason why, when you're out in the natural world, our vision actually enhances, and the energies that are coming in from the beauty of God's earth actually enhances our energy with prana. We breathe deeper out in nature. We see more. We hear more. It heals our bodies. And a willingness to let go of our ego pursuits that shut out our soul. You know, I've talked to many, many people who work in the corporate industry, and they were never so glad as when they retired from corporate and were able to get out more in nature, get out and do what they truly loved. And so it's quite fascinating. Now, sacred geometric symbols are in all of nature, and they help us to dream more lucid dreams, have better astral projection, and an enhanced imagination. Calming energy. You get out into nature and it enhances your life. And that's why I tell people, you got to get out into nature and experience the world that God created, because the world that man creates is not as enhanced with sacred geometric symbols. It doesn't cause lucid dreamings. In fact, it might even cause nightmares. It doesn't allow you to astral project as well, and it doesn't enhance your imagination. And definitely doesn't give you calming energy. Believe it or not, when we are peaceful and quiet, we're more in tune with the divine. The vision is the gateway to higher creativity and our own healing. Like anything, it can also be used for ulterior purposes. So, transforming and healing my vision of the world. Now, we went through this list with sound. Now I want to go through with sight. Yoga, especially Kundalini. You know, when we were down in Cancun a month ago, actually it's been a month and a half ago now, with Joe Dispenza, we did a lot of meditating. And I actually incorporated my Kundalini breathing with what Joe was doing, and I started yogic flying, which was cool because you know, I hadn't done that in ever. And I was literally became lighter than air and stayed up in the air longer than you would expect. You know, usually people bounce up and they come right down. Bounce up and come right down. Well, I bounced up and sat there for a couple of seconds and then came down very slowly. And so the Kundalini actually energized my entire spine. And when you become energized, your frequency goes higher and you become lighter. It's almost like electrogravimetric energy that makes you conquer gravity. It actually lifts your body. It's something the secret space programs use to move out into space and go different places. And we can do that with our own bodies. Now, meditation with the focused breathing and the muscle-assisted locks, such as the root lock, the abdominal lock, the chest lock, the neck lock, all these locks actually hold the energy, and they help you to generate more energy to move into your extrasensory centers in the brain, and so that you can start hearing things, seeing things, feeling things, and experiencing knowing coming into your mind from all of the plasma and energy generated. And so meditation helps assist us with these various spiritual gifts. So definitely yoga and meditation, very powerful to increase our extrasensory perception of our world and other worlds. So doing a detox or cleanse removes chemicals. Now, fluoride keeps us from seeing and hearing things, and kind of dampens our spiritual abilities. Other chemicals that are in the environment that have been developed by man poison these nervous centers. We're seeing more and more Parkinson's disease, more and more blindness, more and more deafness in our modern society because people have all these chemicals and toxins suppressing their centers of perception, our extrasensory perception also. And so it's making people so they can't feel, see, hear, and know God. And it's a part of the plan of the cabal to dampen these senses, making us lose our belief in God because we can no longer feel, hear, smell, or know. So taking herbal remedies that strengthen the eyes, strengthen the nerves, strengthen the brain, strengthen our hearing, our ability to smell. You know, even the design of this recent virus takes away your sense of smell and your sense of taste because it hurts the nerves in your body and makes them so they don't work as good. So you can do things to assist with cleansing out these toxins, viruses, chemicals, and even radiation and fluoride. So using crystals is very good for enhancing your nervous system. Locating crystals near your body, especially quartz crystals, sacred space with statues, pictures of the ascended beings, singing, toning, and chanting, very powerful to enhance your extrasensory perception. Now, our eyes are capable of seeing depth. It's the most amazing. You know, you have two eyes because you can see the difference from two locations, which makes you see in 3D. Now, the optic chiasm just above over the pituitary gland has connections to the pineal gland, which connects you to the fifth dimension and higher. And we can actually exercise our pineal gland to produce more of the DMT that allows us to go into fifth dimensional vision. And so just know, as we clean up our bodies of the toxins, chemicals, and different things that are causing us suppression, we can bring that love of God back into our vision of the world. Everything we look at changes. You know, Wayne Dyer said, as you change the way you look at things, the things you look at changes. Now, he was a very smart man. He was one of the favorite men I ever knew. In fact, I wanted him to write the foreword for my first book. And the Spirit actually led me to where he was this one night. And we were able to talk for an hour and a half. And, you know, it was fascinating what I spoke to him about. And he said, Scott, I think it's better that your first book stand by itself, because he didn't even want to add any energy to it because he felt it was a very perfect book, and it was, and it ended up being an oracle book, which I was amazed about because when I started writing it, I had no idea it was going to become an oracle book, but it has what will heal you inside the book, different modalities, and you hold it in your hands and you say, okay, what do I do to heal my body today? And you open the book up and it goes to exactly what you're supposed to do. And it's worked with thousands of people. And so, you know, we never know what's going to happen when we start following God. We start producing things that are magnificent and that actually bring a lot of enlightenment to our world. So as we bring the love of God into our vision of the world, everything we look at changes. So we need to bring the love of God not only into our hearts, but our voices, our ears, our noses, our eyes, our minds, and our mighty I Am presence and then go down in and bring the love of God into our emotions, our creative center, and into our earth or root center. Knowing God is in charge changes our vision of the world, because once we realize God's plan wins, we know that everything going on around us doesn't matter. What matters is us holding the space of love in our hearts, minds, and souls. Then we can properly love our neighbor as ourselves. And so that's why we're learning this, is to teach us the mystical teachings of the Essenes that were the original teachings that were taught to Jesus, who came into the world to bring the love of God back into the world. So, at the end of each meditation, we need to invoke the highest and greatest possibilities. Because when you're meditating, you'll activate your pineal gland, and the pineal activates the pituitary. It enhances your glandular secretions of hormones, and it brings bliss, happiness, joy, and all kinds of higher vibrating emotions and possibilities. They enter into each of our energy centers with God's love, the perfect organization of God, which helps us to heal, and the perfection of God, which brings us back into the fold of God. So by adding this to the end of each of our meditations, your energy centers will shift each day into higher states of energy, strengthening your organs, organizing, bringing healing, cellular changes to your glands, your bones, your ligaments, your tendons, your systems, and total body health to new levels. Now, as we're in the void, we ask the divine architect to form better possibilities for our body. By better, I mean, creates the best. And the best at that moment that our body is able to receive. And then we can bring them back into each energy center, perfecting our body in the moment and bring it into the now in the third dimension. Very important that we do this every time we meditate, because it helps strengthen our body, heal our body, make us smarter, healthier, younger, and more beautiful every day. So, transforming and healing my vision in the world, one of the most important things we need to remember also is giving gratitude, because for all of this information, we need to be grateful for it, because guess what happens when you're grateful? It is the ultimate energy of receivership. So it opens up, as we meditate, we open up one torus. And as we go into gratitude, it opens a secondary torus that flows an opposite direction. Most of it in the first one flows up and around and back in the bottom. But as we get gratitude, it brings it actually up to the top and down through our entire spine and out the lower, and creates a secondary torus. And guess what? When you have one flowing the one way, the other flowing the other way, it makes electromagnetic gravitative energy. In other words, we become lighter, we become light. Our plasma starts occurring in our bodies, and we get visions and dreams. And so the combination of meditation and gratitude is very important. Now, the present moment is the now. And it's time for us to love ourselves, and it's time for us to visualize protection and love around us, and heal our auric fields, our energetic bodies, and our physical body. Mental thought creates intent. Our intent creates a thought, which creates a vision. which creates energy that surpasses what we can do here on the earth. And it brings forth actions that cause a cause and an effect, and it produces constructs and our personality, which becomes our personal reality. So as we do everything to enhance our life, we actually create a better personal reality and a better personality. We're kinder, we're happier, we're more apt to be more helpful. In fact, we become more helpful because we're smarter and we have more energy. And it helps our collective reality when we help our personal reality. And our world reality improves because we're all one. And as we shine forth the energy that God is giving us, it creates a more perfect world reality, which creates a more perfect universal reality. Now, what does this have to do with everything? Everything. Because right now, the cabal is trying to create an energy that puts everybody, every human, into fear, and they suck out our energy. Remember the talk on energetic vampires? That's exactly what they're doing. But when we go into the God energy and create a better personality, a better personal reality, a better collective reality, a better world reality, a better universal reality, we are affecting the entire globe for good, and better things will occur because we do it with love from our heart, mind, and soul, because we love God with our heart, mind, and soul. So this is very important in transforming our planet and what's going on. So in summary, I want you today start creating new possibilities for healing your body. Apply the teachings and techniques. Now start with the 24-strand DNA and start with protection of your energetic field. So do the divine invocation, bringing in the additional perfected DNA, and then protect your body from all the negativity on the planet. And that's through doing the decrees for putting my world in divine order. If you don't have those, I sent them to you after the lecture, but if you don't have it, we can resend it to you. Now, spend time each day doing meditation, visualizing and creating new energies into your energy centers. Now, I know this sounds like a lot of stuff, but you know what? As you increase the energy, the love and God energy in your system, you actually have more capacity to do more because you become smarter, you become more energetic, you actually are up in the night. And you know, when I first started doing this stuff, I'd wake up 3 to 5, okay, what do you need for me? What do you need for me? But instead of going, what do you need for me? Start doing Ho'oponopono. Start doing the other teachings we've talked about, because these are very powerful. You can take Ho'oponopono and change psychopathic criminals into good people. You can change your enemies into your friends just by Ho'oponopono. And I've talked stories about that, so go back to that lecture on the Ho'oponopono. But in the middle of the night, you're connected more to the divine because it's dark. You're not getting visually distracted so much. And you can go deeper into meditation, deeper into Ho'oponopono, deeper into bringing the love of God into your hearts, minds, and souls. And so we clear negative thoughts. Every day is needed. I still have negative thoughts. I'm not going to ascend just yet. I got to get rid of those negative thoughts. And just know that I do Ho'oponopono not only on others, but myself. So I love myself. I forgive myself. I'm sorry for creating bad things, and I forgive myself. I forgive everybody around me, and I'm very grateful to be alive at this time on the planet as we're creating a better reality. The intent to love yourself and all of humanity in the earth leads to more loving thoughts, more loving sounds, more loving visions, and a more love-filled life. Now, who wouldn't want that? So, today, our assignment is, I focus my vision of the world on health, spiritual, and mental stability. I visualize bringing about the evolution and the ascension of humans. Like I said, you all don't have to do all these things. I'm just giving you the teachings. Start with the beginning, the 24-strand DNA and the protection. Because once you're protected and you have your 24 strands, it expands your capacity. Then you can move on and do these other things. So they're going to be available to you. We're not going to take them away. So just know that. And you can share these things with your friends and neighbors. I want this information out there. Why? Because Saint Germain told me, get it out there to as many people as you can. And guess who are the messengers of Saint Germain? Not just me, all of you. So just know it's a part of all our vision. And next week we're going to be talking about transforming and healing my own creations in the world. And the assignment next week will be, I focus my mind and creative center on Christ's consciousness, compassion, joy, and love for all creation. So now we're going to answer your questions. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, well, happy birthday to Vicki was the first question. So happy birthday, Vicki. Thanks for having a birthday this week. What does spatial acuity mean? Spatial acuity is the ability to not only see what's there, but also what isn't visual to the visual mind. Now, as we integrate the abilities of integration of the smell, the taste, the feeling, and our auditory and our vision, we actually develop a spatial reality that makes us be able to see more than is just presenting to that particular sensory organ. All of these organs are sensory organs, but guess what? They also have a spiritual center that can allow you to look deeper than what you're actually seeing. And that's what spatial acuity means, is we're able to see more. You know, as I was developing, I was born with the ability to see aurics, fields. And what was interesting, I didn't know that much about them, and I thought everybody could see them. So I thought it was just normal. But as I realized what it actually was, I actually started developing that acuity of the clairvoyance, which is being able to see things. And I was actually able to even get deeper into interdimensional visualization. And so as you work with these glands, these organs, these systems, these senses, you become more acute, which means you have a better, more vivid perception of all the energies, not just the visual or the auditory or the taste or the smell or the feeling of it. You can integrate all of it. And when you integrate all of it, you actually become a 5D being where you can put it all together and actually sense all of it, and even go deeper and sense things that aren't so apparent. And that's what visual acuity means, spatial acuity, excuse me. Okay. What is the best meditation to exercise the pineal gland? Well, I don't have the the I don't have the best pineal gland meditation, but the one who does is named Joe Dispenza. And so I'll give credit where credit is due. He's got one of the best pineal exercises that makes your pineal work better and better. Now, another way of enhancing the pituitary and pineal gland is to take the herbs that enhance these things. And we've got a couple of herbal combinations. One is called Epipineal, that helps make the pineal more active and cleans it up. And another one called GB Pituitary Pineal, which actually has herbs that help stimulate the pineal and the pituitary gland. So it helps you get into that ecstasy easier. And Systemic Formulas makes that formula. The Epipineal is made by a company called Innovita, which the formulator actually came from Systemic Formulas. And they're the best formulas on the planet to help your pituitary. But, you know, doing a meditation where you go into the void and visualize what you desire and create it in the astral, mental, causal planes gets it ready to be created in this physical world. And it's called the law of attraction because you visualize it and create it in the etherics, and then you bring it back into the physical. And as you do this, you become more spatially acute and able to create things. And eventually we'll be able to instantly create things. And I've seen it happen. You know, I've seen my ability to create things go from years trying to create something into literally minutes. And so we all have this ability. Okay, what exactly is the Cabal? The Cabal is an all-encompassing name of those who are following the dark energies. And the Cabal actually is in charge of the planet currently, and they are the ones who are causing all of the problems on the planet because they want to get us all subdued. They want to enslave us. They want to control us. And the thing is, humans were meant by the Creator to be free, to be able to go out and create. Whereas, you know, the Cabal is the fallen ones, the fallen angels, and they are trying to control everything. And the government, or the deep state, is controlled by the Cabal. And they keep everybody unaware of actually what they're doing, because most humans are good and they want to do the right thing. But they're involved in these programs where they are basically kept unaware, and they use secrecy and, you know, top secret applications, and they make you sign non-disclosure agreements so you can't even talk about the stuff that you're doing. And that causes separation, whereas God's teaching brings us together. It makes us so we're not separate. We come into the one consciousness. So the Cabal gets its power by putting us separate, making us separate from God, and not even believing in God or the commandments of God. And this creates compartmentalization, which separates us even further, so we can't even talk about what we're doing or seeing or taking care of. And that's how they keep control. So that's what the Cabal is. Can we do DNA practice more than one time a day? Absolutely. And I would advise people to do it twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. If you do it too much, I had an older gentleman who was doing the DNA manifestation constantly, and his wife called me up and says, I can't get my husband to settle down. He's got so much energy, I can't keep up with him anymore. Can you tell him to stop doing the DNA manifestation so often? And, I'm not going to stop people from becoming who they can become, because he was becoming who he wanted to become, which was a more powerful human being. And that's what God wants us to become. If we follow God's laws, follow the commandments, and meditate, pray, and give thanks, we become superhuman, believe it or not. And our capacity increases. Our ability to do many things increases. So it's very, very good. Okay, we've got somebody just said, happy birthday, Vicki, again, and saying good things. Okay, is sitting up straight necessary when meditating, or is lying down okay? Now, I do agree that sitting up when you're meditating helps you stay awake, helps you from falling asleep. Other than that, laying down is much more comfortable. The problem is, if you're laying down in your bed, that's where you go to sleep. And you go to sleep before you get through the meditation. But, whatever you feel, my opinion is your sensory organs are still open with you laying down, and even when you fall asleep, there's a period of time in between that you're more susceptible to teachings. So if you're falling asleep during the meditation, you actually incorporate that into your subconscious. So I believe either way is good. And I do both. I do it sitting up and I do it laying down. And truthfully, when I'm really tired, I'll do it laying down, and usually I'll fall asleep. But I know that as I'm falling asleep, going into that theta wave in the brains, you can incorporate it better into your subconscious. So just do it, and in the middle of the night, if you can't sleep, wake up, sit up, do a meditation, then you can lay down. You'll probably go back to sleep faster. So there is no wrong way. Thank you. So, okay, everybody's saying happy birthday, Vicki. Okay, what is the DNA manifestation? It is the divine invocation. It's the one where we're first manifesting 24 strands of DNA into 12 double helix, and then we braid it into rope DNA. And once we get our 24 strands, then we move into a higher manifestation of 48 strands of DNA. And once we get our 48 strands, we go into a 96 strand. Now, the 24 is the highest perfection in the third dimension. The 48 strands is the highest perfection amount of DNA in the fourth dimension, which is where we go when we die. And the fifth dimension, which is light, plasma, and love, is 96 strands of DNA, and so forth. There are even higher dimensions as we continue growing and evolving as human beings. There's 12 chakras and there's 12 dimensions in this universe, but there are higher universes, believe it or not. And we live in what we call an omniverse. God is omniscient, omnipotent, and, just omni means there is no end. And as you know, God is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, but we have no end, really. But God is in control of it all. So that's what the DNA manifestation, and I think it was our very first discussion. You go back and watch the videos. It's the divine invocation. So I want to thank you all for participating today in the mentoring. These are mystical teachings. These are coming not just from me, but these have been in the records of the Akashic records. They're in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're in the records that are kept in Tibet. They're in the records kept in all the secret, holiest of shrines on the planet. These are the true teachings coming from God, and they're to assist us to evolve into higher states of being. And that's why we're talking about these things. So as we focus our mind and creative center on Christ consciousness, compassion, joy, and love for all creation, we become higher, more evolved humans. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. So thank you so much. We're going to give you all a blessing right now. In the name of the Almighty, I am that I am, and by the power of the Holy Spirit, the great divine director, and all of your higher mighty I am selves, we give you all a blessing that your vision of this world will change and enhance for the better, that you will see the good in everything, and that you will see that God is in charge and God wins. By this, I mean that God's plan for our evolution, for our advancement into the higher energies of the ascension, will come forth, and God does win. No matter how bleak it looks or dark things seem, know that God is in charge. And it's just evil humans doing their thing. And our job is to visualize all of the humans become better. We need to ho'oponopono them. We need to love them. We need to send out love through telepathy and ask them to awake, come into the great awakening. And this will happen because we're all doing this who are awake now. And we will help all the other humans to wake up. We bless each of you that you will not go into the lower vibrations. Don't get despondent or fearful or in anxiety about what's happening. Know that God's love will heal everything, including you, your families, and all the other humans on the earth. We bless you that you will focus on the good, the righteous way, or the way of righteousness, which are the teachings of the love of God. We bless each of you that you will instill these teachings into your life, and as you expand your consciousness, expand your capacity and your abilities, you'll be able to incorporate all these teachings and become ascended beings of light and love. We seal this blessing upon you and bless you that your organs, your systems, your glands, your chakras, all of your energy centers will perfect with the love of God, and that you will become more powerful than you ever knew you could. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and by the powers of the Almighty, I am that I am, the creator of the universe. We bless you all with these things. So be it, so it is.